So today's session will be, as I said, a guided tour of Findmypast, and this is my logged in dashboard, as I'm hoping you can see here, and you can see my mouse moving around as well. We'll have a look at this dashboard. We'll have a look at how to start a tree and how that works. We'll look at the free trial and also the subscriptions, because you might be wondering what level of subscription you need. We'll do a few practice searches. I'll show you how to search as well, and how to get to grips with searching. Slow down. How to find the records you want, so the different categories of records that we've got, a couple of examples of records that you can find, and then things like help content, our blog, how to contact support and things like that. And if I do miss anything, let me know, pop it in the comments, and we'll see if we can get to it. Okay, so I think we'll start with the dashboard then, and this is our dashboard just here. So when you create a free account or you log into an existing one, this is what you'll be taken to, your personalized dashboard. And you can see my my full first name here that only, you know, old teachers tend to address me by. I do tend to go by Ellie rather than Eleanor. It's got a number of features right on hand for you for when you log in. So you've got a basic search here, so we could add in search. Yes, I was born in 1990, please don't hold it against me. And you can see a search counter there as well. You can also add in a location, or you can go to advanced search if you want to. Okay, we've got a link to your hints here. You can go straight through to your family tree. You can see who you've last viewed. There's some useful help content. I've linked my living DNA results here as well, so I can see my living DNA breakdown just there. We've got some quick links to certain record category types, a link through to our blog here. So this is what we added last week, and this is a help guide on parish records. So hopefully that's of some use to you. And if we scroll further down, we've also got some links to various pages on our website, such as the 1939 register. If you're new, you can take a free trial. There are some free records that you can go and have a look at, including Irish Catholic records. Those are quite good. Some FAQs, and then you've got links to things like social media and the support page, which we will come to nearer the end. Brilliant. Now I'm just going to go and check back to the comments to make sure that everything is working correctly before I carry on. Shirley says, good to be back to basics. Do you know what? It never hurts to go back to basics, I find, because in this game, in this technology game, everything changes every now and then. I've had to download a new version of my browser just for today's stream to work, so I can understand. So what we'll do then is we'll move on, because what I wanted to show you first was the tree. So and creating a tree is a really good way of sort of keeping track of all the research that you've done, keeping track of your ancestors, and you can then store their stories as well. You can come back to them easier as well. So let me show you a snapshot of my tree first. So I'm going to go to family tree, and I'm going to go to view all trees. Now I do have a couple in here, so we'll choose my largest tree, which is my overthrow family tree. I'm hoping it brings it up on the right page, because what I don't want is any living people to be shown, and I don't think they are, so that's good. And what I'm going to do is you've got this handy little search box here. If you want to change the view of the tree to somebody else, you can use this search box, and you can search for them, and then the view of the tree will change, and then it brings up who you're looking for. So the good news here is nobody on this section of the tree is alive, so there are no privacy issues here, and I can show you a little snapshot of my tree and what it looks like. So these are my paternal great-grandparents. We've got Robert Thomas Jones here. We've got Nellie Griffiths. And if we scroll along, we can see more of the tree here. So they're my great-great-grandparents just there. And then we've got lots of great-great-uncles and great-great-aunts and second cousins 4 times removed. Lots of those. And so we can scroll along using my mouse to see more of the tree. Now, if I wanted to move backwards in time a little bit, because this is only showing me 3 generations, what I can do is I can use one of these arrows here, and that will take me back in time. So if I click onto that that changes the view. So now we're looking at it from William's perspective. So this is my great-great-grandfather. And again, we can keep moving back in time if we want. But what we'll do is we'll go forward in time and we'll go back to the view for Robert Thomas Jones just there. Brilliant. Now this is the family view, so you can actually change this. So if you want to get rid of sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles and cousins and just view your direct line, there's this little button here that says family view. You can click that and you can change it to pedigree. So that will give you your pedigree line. And again, you can change the view for this. So if I wanted to change this to myself, I could click onto that. Oh, that's not right. I could click spouse and children, and I could then click on to my grandfather and then my father and then myself if I wanted to move it that way. And again, you can move along the tree as well. So if I wanted to move up through Abraham Molyneux's line, I could click onto that and then move that forward and then move that back just like that. But we'll change it back to family view for now. I like it in family view because you can see all the pictures that you've added in. The hints are easier to access as well, but that's just my personal preference. Also, if you see this little icon here that looks like a tiny little tree on somebody, this means that there's another side of the family that you can go and have a look at. So if we click onto this for Nellie, we see the tree from her perspective and we see her parents up here. And we'll just swap it back to Robert for now. Okay. So what I want to do next is I want to talk you through how to create a tree. It's really simple to do. And what we'll do is we'll do one for I think my great-grandfather Ralph. So this is on my maternal side. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to family tree and then we're going to go create a tree. And then it'll take us to a page where it'll ask us a couple of details just to start planting the seeds of the tree. Now, because this tree isn't for me, we want to change this to somebody else. I want to click mail and I'm going to start adding in some details here. I'm just going to add in, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've done a lot of my overthrow side already, but let's just, for argument's sake, I don't know a great deal about him. Okay, so I'm going to guess some of the bits. I know roughly he was born in 1896 and we're going to call this, let's call it the Ralph family tree. There we go. I think he was born somewhere in the Midlands, but we'll just leave that there for now. And once we've filled that in, we can click Start Their Tree. And then what it's going to do is it's going to ask us about Ralph's parents and his grandparents. Okay, so it's his mother that comes up first. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to add in his mother's name, which was Elizabeth, if I can spell Elizabeth correctly. This is what happens when I type under pressure. Type live on Facebook. We want to mark her as deceased and she was born around 1866, I think. Now what we can do, if we're not sure, we can actually click skip, but we do know Elizabeth, so we're going to add her to the tree. And then the next thing is going to ask me if they married. Now I think they did, so I'm going to put yes. And then this is all saving to the tree that is going to be created for us in a minute. And then it's going to ask me about Ralph's father. So his father was Lewis Frank Overthrow, and he has also passed away. He was born a little bit after Elizabeth, so I think 1868. And we'll just add him to the tree. Now, in terms of Ralph's grandparents, at this point, let's pretend I know nothing else about Ralph at all. Don't know about his grandparents, his great-grandparents. So what we're going to do, we're actually going to skip his grandparents. Skippity skip. I haven't skipped since I was a child. I used to love skipping with a skipping rope. I don't know about all of you. So here is my tree, my brand new tree. We've got Lewis Frank Overthrow, we've got Elizabeth Humphreys, and we've got Ralph Overthrow as well. Now, before I carry on, I just want to have a quick look in the comments and see how you're all getting on. Let's see if there are any questions here. And hopefully, Elaine, a nice drag feature rather than a scroll would be nice here. Yeah, absolutely, Elaine. Thank you for that feedback. I agree with you on that. Good. So Niall's answering your questions. Good. So everything seems to be tickety-boo at the moment. So what we'll do is we'll carry on with our new tree. So sometimes, because you might not know these grandparents, we need the tree to do a little bit of work for us. But there are some other details I can add in already which will help me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in that Ralph died in 1971. So I'm going to click on him to edit him, and I'm going to click edit, and I'm going to add 1971. I think he was actually born in Worcestershire. Worcestershire. I can't pronounce that. So we're going to add in Worcestershire just there, and it's got the type ahead, which helps out. And we're just going to click save. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to add in Lewis's death year, because I know that as well. So again, we click onto him and we click edit. And I think he died in 1943, I want to say. So we'll click save to that. Fantastic. So that's now saved in that information. Next on my list, I know that Ralph had a twin who was called Roland, and he died, I think, before he reached his first birthday. I don't know, he might have even died as a very young infant. So I'm going to click onto Ralph, and I'm going to click add relative and add sibling. And then because Roland was also the child of Lewis and Elizabeth, we're going to click onto them, and we're going to add in Roland's details just here. So he is deceased, he was born in 1896, born in Worcestershire, and he also died in 1896 as well. Okay, and we click save. Lovely. So the next thing I wanted to add was Ralph's wife, who was my great-grandmother, because I know that. This is the thing, if you don't know where to go back further back yet, just add in what you do know. So we're going to add in a spouse for Ralph, and she was called Sarah Ann Foster, but she was known by Annie, I believe, and she was born, I think, in 1902. And we'll click save. Lovely. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to refresh my page just to make sure everything's looking tickety-boo there. Lovely. So that's the beginnings of my tree. Now, if you've got any hints, they will start popping up in little orange bubbles, which are really handy. Now, there's none here yet, but do keep checking back, because we do generate them as quickly as we can when you do add in a new tree. Now, I did start adding in one earlier. Yes, this is one I made earlier, would you believe? I'm just going to go to view all trees, and I'm going to go into the Ralph Overthrow family tree that I started earlier on today. And you'll see here that we do have some hints in here. So if I move further forward in time, what happened was I found a hint for Ralph, because we can see here we've got a little orange bubble. It says there's 4 hints available. And there was one for the 1901 census for him, and that allowed me to add in his siblings, which is really, really good. Now, we've still got the 1911 census one here, so we could have a look at that. We've also got some of the hints for him as well. So we've got a birth record, a marriage record, and also a tree-to-tree hint. Now, these hints, they're just suggestions, and you'll get more and they'll be more accurate based on the more information you add into your tree. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at the 1911 census record so I can show you how the hints work. So you find the one you want to have a look at and you click review. And then what that'll do is it'll open up a new page. And here on the left-hand side, we've got information from the record itself. So this is the hint on the left. On the right-hand side, we've got the information from my tree. And if you scroll down, we can have a look and we can see, is it going to be a match? Now, we've got Lewis Frank here. We've got Elizabeth there. That all looks to me to match up. So I would then go, yes, next step. Now, if I want to, I can also click view transcript, and that will open up the record. But for now, we'll just carry on with the hint and we'll click yes, next step. So the next part of this is you deciding what information you want to add from the record into your tree. Excuse me. And you don't have to add all of it, because some records, for example, might not have a middle name and you might want to keep that middle name. Just something to bear in mind there. So, but what I usually do, and this is very much a personal preference, I usually click update all for a person, and then I'll remove anything I don't want. So what we're going to do is we're going to click update all for Ralph, and we've got an updated birthplace here. So we've got Selly Oak, St Mary's and Worcestershire. We've also got his address in 1911 as well. And if we scroll down, we've got the details for Lewis Frank. We'll go update all. That I think should say St Catherine's, Gloucester, but that's fine for the moment. And again, for Elizabeth, we'll swap those in. And we've got some siblings here. So we've got Walter. What I'll do is I'll just update. In fact, what we'll do is we'll update all of that. Well, look, he was an art student in 1911. Oh no, that was 1901. Oh, I'm getting myself mixed up now. We've also got another son here, but he is already on there. He's Thomas Lane over there is already on there. So I'm going to skip him. I'm going to update William Frank. And keep scrolling down. We've got Nellie as well, so we'll update her. And that's us done. So we just click Save Changes to the tree at the bottom. What it'll do then is it'll take us back to the hints page. But what we can do is we can go back to the tree. And if you've made any additions there, so if you've added anybody new to the tree, this is where they'll appear. And this is really exciting because this is where you can first see your tree actually growing, which I absolutely love. I love that feeling when you've added somebody new in. And in addition, when you find a new story as well, I just think that's really wonderful. Okay, so brilliant. And what we'll do is, I do recommend looking through your hints where you can. Not all of them are going to be relevant because, as I said, they are just suggestions, but do review them when you can. You can reject them as well if you don't want to add them into your tree. Now, I want to have a quick look for Lewis. I want to have a look at his hints very quickly. Let's have a look here. So what we can see, we've got a tree-to-tree hint for Lewis as well, which means that somebody else on Findmypast has a tree with Lewis in their tree. We've got a birth record for him, we've got a death record, and we've also got him in newspapers as well. Let's just have a quick look at his birth record. We'll go to review, and it gives me the information here, so I can click yes, next step. And then I can choose what information I want to add over and then click save. Lovely. So there are other few things you can do with your tree as well. When you go into a profile of a person like we're in at the moment, you can add in a picture. So we can click onto that and add in a picture. You've got a timeline as well. So for all the facts and events and bits of the tree that you've added, bits of records that you've added in, those will all appear here. Their relations will appear, any media that you've attached. We've also got a quite handy little kinship calculator as well. So if you're not sure how somebody in your tree is related to somebody else, you can use that. That is a really handy little tool. If you want to add in any notes, you can add them in there. And again, for media, if you want to upload any other pictures or anything like that, or letters or anything that you have to hand for this person, you can add it all in there and it's stored. It's nice and safe. So before we carry on then, let's have another quick look at the comments, and hopefully Niall is helpfully answering your questions. Yes, about exporting your GEDCOM. Lovely. How can I download photos onto my tree? Nigel, so I've just shown you how to do that. So I'll just talk you through it again. So if you're on the person's profile here, you hover over their profile, you click the little pencil icon and you click upload or use existing, and you can upload the photo from your tree there, which I quite like to do. I think it really personalizes it. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll move on, and what I wanted to talk about next, which might be quite useful for those of you new to Findmypast, is our subscriptions and our free trials. So if you are new to Findmypast, you can take advantage of our free 14-day trial, and you can use that on any of our subscription levels, any of our subscriptions at all. I'll just talk you through some of the benefits of each one, because you might be looking, you might not be sure which one to go for. You might not be sure which one will suit the records that you're looking for and the family that you're looking for. So the starter subscription is the cheapest. I should actually preface this by saying that I'm going to do this from a UK perspective. So I'm on findmypast.co.uk at the moment, but if you want to look and see what's available on our other domains, so .ie, .com and .com.au, and there are some other subscriptions and there are other prices there. But I'm just going to do this from the UK perspective in the interest of time. So the starter subscription will give you basic records to start your tree, so your civil, birth, marriage and death records, and also the census records. You can probably go back about 4 or 5 generations with those records, so really good for a beginner, and you can upgrade at any time as well, which is really handy. The next one up from that is our Plus subscription. This gives you access to all the records for the UK apart from the newspapers. So you get the 1939 register with that, you get our parish records, crime records, school records, military travel, the Irish records. There's an awful lot included in that. That's really good if you're coming in as an intermediate. Or if you've suddenly found out that you need to take your tree a little bit further back, past 1837 when civil registration began, or 1841 with the beginning of the census records. And then once you've sort of found your feet, perhaps you've found that you've got ancestors outside of the UK, or you need to go and have a look in the newspapers, the Pro subscription is the one to go for next. And this includes absolutely everything on Findmypast. There are no exclusions. And it means that all the records we're adding every week as well, they're all just automatically included. You don't keep having to pay any extra for those, which is really good. Sip of water there. This is what happens when you talk for a prolonged period of time. You need to keep drinking water. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is how to use our search. And what we'll do is we'll do a couple of test searches just so you can get to grips with it. And again, if you've got any questions about it, just pop it in the comments and maybe we can do a couple at the end to have a look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go back to the dashboard, because at the beginning I showed you our basic dashboard search, which is here. So this will search all the records for the United Kingdom, but you can amend it here. This is really good as a sort of nice broad search, because it's always a good idea when you're searching for an ancestor to start off broad. If you go in too detailed and too narrowly focused, you might miss things, because remember, although the information you have might be correct, it may have been recorded differently by the person at the time, by a registrar, by a parish priest, by a census enumerator. So please just bear that in mind when you're searching. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the second way to search, which is via this menu bar at the top. I'm going to click onto search and I'm going to click search all records. So this brings me up with a nice advanced search for Britain records only. But what you can do is you can swap it over here. You can choose a category from here. And I think what is important to note at this point is all search fields are optional. And it says this right here. Maybe this should be even bigger than it already is. You don't have to fill in every single box. Okay, there are even some more tips and things like that at the bottom, which you might find useful. And less is absolutely more when it comes to searching for your ancestors. So take advantage of these little nifty search filters that we've got. So we've got name variants. I'm going to switch those on. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a look for, let's have a look for Lewis Frank, shall we? In fact, let's see if we can find, let's go back another generation. We'll see if we can find Samuel J. Overthrow's parents. So this is a sample search that we'll do. So we'll add in a J there. We'll add in Overthrow. I did once find records back in the 1600s, I think, and Overthrow had an E on the end, and at some point we just lost the E. I'm quite glad we did, if I'm honest. Year of birth, 1840. But let's be honest, people back then, they sometimes lied about their age. They sometimes forgot when they were born. So I'm going to do give or take 5 years either side. And I'm using the year of birth there. I'm going to leave everything else blank for the moment, okay? And I'm going to click search records at the bottom. and we'll see what comes up. This is always very exciting, seeing what comes up in your search results. And you'll notice on the left-hand side, I can actually tweak my search if I want. So if I wanted to tweak the year of birth there, I wanted to add in a year. So the year, where it says year, it means the year, the specific record that you're looking at happened. So if it's a census, it would be 1901 or 1911, something like that. If it was a death, it would be the year of death, that kind of thing. And there's also a handy little search radius here. So if I wanted to add in a location, for example, Gloucestershire or Gloucester, I could add in Gloucester, but I could also adjust the search radius as well. So again, it just means that you're not searching too exact and you're not missing things that you would otherwise find if you weren't being too exact with your searches. So let's have a look and see what we've got here for Samuel J. or Joseph. Samuel Joseph Overthrow. So at the top, we've got an 1871 census. We've got his birth in 1839 rather than 1840, which is the information I originally had. We've got his death in 1885. We've got an 1841 census record, and an 1851, and an 1881. So let's have a look at the one for 1881. No, I've changed my mind. We're going to do 1851. Now, I just want to show you this as well. Here on the right-hand side, this is where you'd choose to open up the record. Now, if there's a little tick by it, this means you've previously looked at it. I have previously looked at these records. This one on the left-hand side here that looks like a notepad, this is a transcript. So a transcript is a typed out version of an original. It has all the key pieces of information, and usually these are the pieces of information that you've used when you've searched and what has brought you to this particular record. Now, if there's another little button which looks like a picture, that means we've got an original image of that record. So whether it's a scan or a bit of microfilm, anything like that, if we've got it and we're allowed to show it to you, we will show it to you. So just bear that in mind. If there's an original image, always check it. You never know what extra information you could find. So let's open up the one in question, so 1851, and have a look at the record. Okay, so we've got our highlighted person here. This is the person I searched for, Samuel Overthrow. 11 at this stage in 1851. 1851 was a long time ago. A long time ago. We've also got a couple of visitors here. We've got some siblings, and we've also got his parents. So his father was also called Samuel, and his mother was called Hannah. And we know that they were all from the Gloucestershire area. Excellent. So what I would then do is I'm then going to have a look at the original. So I can just click View Image. And we'll just wait for it to load. And there it is. What we can do on the left hand side, we've got some tools here. So you can actually zoom in and you can use your mouse to drag it around if you want to. So we've got our household here. We've got Samuel Overthrow, Hannah, Samuel. You do have to practice a little bit reading the older handwriting. But if you're not sure what a particular letter is, have a look for that particular letter in a different context. So scroll up and see how they've written it somewhere else and see if you can decipher that. That's usually a really good tip. So yeah, we'll go back to the transcription like that. And then what I'm going to show you how to do is how to add this to your tree. So again, on the right hand side here, we've got Add to Tree. And it comes up with this box here. So what we need to do is we first need to choose which tree we want to add it to. So we're going to choose the Ralph Overthrow family tree. I'm just going to get rid of this to make sure I've selected the right person. So Samuel J. Overthrow 1840, and then we click Attach and Review. And then the next step here, what you'll see is that it looks like a hint again. So again, you've got the record on the left, you've got your tree on the right, and you can choose which information you want to transfer over. Now, as it happens, because this was one I made earlier, I've actually added most of this already, although we have got a new, I'm going to save changes to tree and let's see if we can get those added. Oh, it's too quick for me, but that's fine. So if we look at our tree now, it's looking much healthier. We've got more people on it. We've got Samuel and Hannah on there. We've got Samuel, Emma. Brilliant. And if we wanted to move backwards, if we knew who Samuel's father was, we could click on to add, we could add father, etc. And so on and so forth. Fantastic. Okay, so what I want to move on to next will be the search categories we've got. But before we do that, I think we'll just take a little pause. I'll have a look at some of your comments and see what you guys are all nattering about. I do like seeing what you guys talk about in the comments, and I love how you all help each other out as well. So yes, we've got talking about Pat saying if you receive it as a hint, save it as maybe. Yeah, do you know what? That's such a good tip. If you're not sure, save it as maybe and you can always come back to it, and I'll show you how to do that. So say if we click onto Hannah's one hint here. So this is a tree to tree hint. If I want to go to review like that, and I want to click maybe, and I go continue. So if my mouse will work, then what will happen is when you come back to Hannah's profile and her hints, you'll see it's filtered as new hints only, but you can actually change that. So if we change it to maybe, your hint is still there, and even if you reject it, it'll still show up if you change it to rejected hints. So you're not going to lose anything, but it is important to keep on top of your hints to make sure you don't have too many and they don't run away with you. Okay. Linda, definitely learned things. That's good. Sadly arranged a call for 5. We'll check back and view whole session. Good. I'm so pleased to hear that. That is really good. I like it when people learn things because I just think people are learning new things every day, and I think on a day you don't learn something, I just think that's personally for me, I just think that's a dull day. I'm always learning something new and I love that. Okay, so what time are we on? We're just past 5 o'clock. There are some other things I want to look at, but if I can see that, for example, if I've talked too much and you perhaps want to finish up, then we will. But I did have a couple of other things I wanted to show you. So quick look at the search categories, because if you are new to Findmypast, you're new to family history, it is important to know that all of our records are sorted into categories. So you can do the nice broad search that we did earlier when we went to search all records. But what you can also do is, if you know the kind of record you're looking for, so say you know that you're looking for a census or a military record or a crime record, you can narrow your search down a little bit by choosing a category. So if you go to search at the top menu bar and you click onto military, armed forces and conflict, for example, just one of the many categories we've got. Again, it's set to Britain here, but you can change that. You can also add in a subcategory if you want to. And what you'll notice when you choose a category, when you specify a little bit more what you're looking for, the search options will change. So for here, for the military records, we've got a regiment field and a soldier number field, and obviously they weren't there before. They weren't there when we were doing a broad search, and they wouldn't be there for a census search either. I'll just show you the census search as a comparison. What do we want? Census, land and surveys. So any maps and electoral registers, they will fall into this category as well. And again, the subcategories are here on the left. So what's quite handy with the census search is if you're searching for a person and you want to help narrow down your results, particularly if you're looking for somebody with a, say, a more common name like Smith or Jones or Davies. Yes, I have all of those in my tree. Aren't I a lucky bunny? You can add in another household member to help narrow down your results. Really handy little trick. So yeah, do keep that in mind as well. So the last thing I wanted to show you with the searches and the categories was the newspaper search, because that's a little bit different. So if I go to search and then newspapers and periodicals, I'll just show you how the newspaper search works before we move on. So here it is. It does look different. So you can add in a first name, a last name, and some keywords if you want. Again, you've got the exact search that you can toggle on and off. You can change to Irish newspapers or US and world newspapers. You've also got some filters here, some date filters, place, county, newspaper, and also article type. I'm just going to take another sip of water. Article type is quite useful actually, because especially if you're looking for like a marriage announcement or something, you can find that in here, and you can check family notice, which is quite handy. But we'll just remove that for now. I'm going to do an example search for you, so we'll just search for overthrow because it's a nice uncommon name. There's not many of us lying around. If there's any of you in the comments who know an overthrow, I would be very I'd be very surprised. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll have a look and see what we've got here. Let's have a glance down, see what we can find. Here's one. Let's open up this. So it gives you a little preview, and then on the right hand side you just click the button to open it up. It'll open it up on the right page, so we can see this is the Gloucester Citizen for the 4th of January 1945. And what is quite handy is that our search will highlight your search terms, so it means that the article you're looking for, you can find it more easily on the page. There are some navigation tools here, so you can zoom in. And it's an obituary. So it says the death of Mr. T.L. Overthrow, who is apparently a well-known official. We've got his full name, his address, where he worked, that he died at the age of 47, that he was in the army during the First World War and he was discharged in 1919. Some of his hobbies, which is always good to know. And apparently a former member of the Ancient Order of the Druids. I mean, you don't read that every day. Leaves behind a son and a daughter, and when the funeral is going to take place as well. So it's amazing the amount of information you can find from one newspaper record like this, which I absolutely love. If you've not tried the newspapers yet, I cannot stress this enough. Have a look. If you can't find anything for your ancestors themselves, research the area that they were from. Events that might have shaped their lives, for example, always worth a look and a really good way to while away an afternoon when the weather is not great, like it's not great here in Scotland today, with a cup of tea and a plate of biscuits. Perfect. So what we'll just have a look at next is I want to show you the My Records feature as well, because obviously as you're going along and you've got your tree and you're finding records and you're saving them to your tree, everything that you actually view will be stored under your My Records section, which is at the top. If we click onto that, it's all in date order, but you can actually filter it if it'll load for me. Another sip of water. Here we go. So we've got what we viewed recently here. So we can see that we've got a census record, we've got a 1939 register record, etc. And they're all in there, and you can go back and you can view those as well, which is quite handy. There was another little thing I wanted to show you as well. Sorry, there was a long list of things I wanted to show you before the gremlins came out to play today. Now, say you know exactly the kind of records you want to look at. Say you know you want to look in Devon baptisms, for example. You can find these quite easily by going to search and then A to Z of record sets. Now, this is a full searchable list of all the record sets we've got on Findmypast. This is updated every single week. You can filter them as well. So say if you wanted to see all the records we've got for Scotland, you can choose Scotland there and it'll filter them. And you can also search in here. So say we wanted to search baptisms. We've got all the different baptisms we've got. And there's also a record count here, which is quite handy. But what's also quite handy about this little feature is you can use it to search a census by address. So let's just bring up the 1911 census, and I just find this by typing in 1911 into the search bar, and I click onto the 1911 census just there. So this is actually a much more advanced search. Anytime you pick a record set from the A to Z, you get a much more advanced search of this particular record set. And this is only what you're going to be searching now. So when you do start to get a bit more advanced and you do know that you only need to search this particular census, for example, this is a really good way to go about your research. So if I want to search for an address and not a person, what I can do is I can find this little toggle at the top and I can click address, and then the search changes. So let's have a look for somewhere a little bit familiar to me. I know, let's put where I lived in university. So we're going to put in Egham, and I'm going to put the street as well. So I'm going to put South Road. And we'll see that it's filtered out. So we've got one street result for this. Okay, so I'm going to click on to view one result. And again, you don't have to type in you don't have to use all the fields. You can just use a few, or even just one. So we've got South Road, Englefield Green, Egham, Windsor, Surrey. And if we click on addresses, we can see all of the addresses that are listed. I think my mouse doesn't like me today. Okay. And here are the addresses. So we've got the schedule number from the censuses here, and we've got the house numbers, all the house name bearing in mind. And if I wanted to open one of these up, I could click onto the transcript button and I could see who was living at the Salvation Army Institute in Egham in 1911. This is a really good tip if you are tracing the history of a house, or if you just want to know who lived in your house in times gone by, really. So that's how you'd find that out. Next thing I wanted to show you was the 1939 map search. But before I do that, I'm just going to check that everything's okay with the live stream. Everybody's okay in the comments. Yes, you're all helping each other out as well, aren't you? Lovely. Okay, so we'll crack on. Let's have a look at the 1939 map search. And if you've not tried the 1939 register yet, it is well worth a go if you've got ancestors from England and Wales in the 1930s and 40s, because it is a little bit like a census. So it's a snapshot in time, just as the war broke out. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful source, really. So you can find your family living together, you can find dates of birth, you can find occupations. But what we've also got for this record set is a map search. So to find this, we can go to search 1939 map search. Then what that brings up is this little search box here. Now you can click use my current location if you want. You can add in a street, you can add in a town, you can add in a postcode, you can add in coordinates, even coordinates will work for you. And what we'll do is we'll use where I lived in university as well. So I'm going to add in a postcode and I'm going to click search. Oh, I know why it didn't work. That should be a 0. That's my fault. There we go. Okay, so what you'll see in terms of the maps here, you've got a modern day map here that you can drag and move around with your mouse. You can zoom in and out. I went to a very nice university that you can actually see here. Zoom in a little bit more. Beautiful building. If you've never Googled Founders Royal Holloway, have a look at the pictures. They're absolutely glorious. I was very, very, very lucky. And then what we can see on the left-hand side here, these are the households and the streets for this postcode. So we'll have a look at the first ones. We've got Cooper's Hill Lane. And then it'll have a list of the households here. So we'll have a look at Orchard Cottage. And what that'll do is it'll then take you through to the 1939 register and it'll let you have a look at the transcript. You can view the image, you can add it to your tree, whatever you want to do there. So that's how that works. What I did want to show you as well with the maps is, I don't know if any of you have noticed, but you can actually select the map layer, so you can change it. So you can actually see what an area has looked like over the years. So this is the 1880s. You can also, no, sorry, that's 1939. And then you can go back to the 1880s as well, which I absolutely love. And the eagle-eyed among you, if you've taken part in the Find My Map challenge that we've been putting on every week recently, this is where we get the maps from. So yeah, I love these maps and I love exploring the old areas, and you can just, you can explore the old streets of London using this. I just think it's fantastic. And you can, zoom in and out over here, drag it along. Got Waterloo Bridge there. Oh, apparently there was a swimming bath there before. See, I told you, you learn something new every single day. So before we finish up, I want to point out a couple of other helpful sections for you. So if you are a beginner, do check out our help and more section. So we've got, actually, we'll just go back home quickly. We've got getting started help here, we've got FAQs, we've got help hub, and then we've got links through to our blog categories as well. And this is updated every week. So I mentioned before that we add new records every week. This is where you'd find the information. So these are all in date order. So this is the most recent one going back to whenever we started doing these some years ago. This is the most recent one for Friday, when we added our new vintage photo collection, which I absolutely adore. If you've not looked at that yet, you can find it in the A to Z. Just type in photo and you can find the photo collection there, and you can search it there. Brilliant. In terms of the blog, there's also other things you can check out as well. So we also write about family history discoveries, history, different record types, and more. We are very proud of our blog, and there's just some incredible stories in there. And if you've got anything that you'd like us to turn into a blog, if you found something really, really fascinating in the record, you've got a good story to tell us in the Findmypast forum, or email us into testimonials@findmypast.com, because we always love to hear from you. Another thing to point out is you see this little icon in the corner here that looks like a bell. That's the notification icon, and if it's got a little red dot on it, this means that you've got new hints to go and have a look at. So if there's no dot there, that usually means that there are no new hints for you. Another thing is your account section. So if you need to manage your account, if you need to change your email address or your password, you need to turn your auto renew for your subscription on or off, you can do that there. If you need to update your payment cards, you can do that in there as well. But remember, if you update your payment card, it will only work if you do it while your subscription is still active. If your subscription has already lapsed, it's not going to work, I'm afraid. You've also got your saved searches in there, and you can also log out as well if you want. If you've finished up for the day and it's time to go pop the news on or something like that. Lastly, but not least, let's just go back to the home page again. I want to scroll down here, and I just want to point out our social media pages here. So we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Pinterest, we're on YouTube. And as I've already mentioned, we've got the Findmypast forum as well. So if you have a question about research, if you've hit a brick wall, if you just want to lean on some of the other members of the community, they are really, really helpful. Be as clear and concise in your request when posting as possible. And if you are requesting to join, make sure you answer the membership question, as it will just speed everything up. All we want to know is just a brief description of your experience level and why you'd like to join, whether you want to find your great-great-grandfather's military record or whatever it is you might be, or you just want to learn something new, or even help each other out. A lot of people have joined the forum just to share their own knowledge, which I absolutely love. I love it when people do that, just helping, because why not? A little bit of kindness goes a long way nowadays, let me tell you. And lastly, if there is something that I have managed not to cover in this whistle-stop guided tour of our website, there is always our incredible support team. And I said in the last session, though they may be small, they are mighty. And I mean this with all of my heart. The knowledge that they have between them is outstanding. They're available on phone, live chat, and email from Monday to Friday. And if you need help over the weekend, just pop an email in, and they'll get back to you that following week. If you try and come onto the live chat as well and you've got a query there, what we'll try and do is we'll try and answer the question for you. And if you do then need to go through to somebody, you'll be put through to somebody. And they're so helpful, they're so friendly, based up here in Scotland. So big shout out to the sport team. Don't know if they're listening, they're probably too busy to listen. But yeah, I just think they're really wonderful. So I think that brings us nicely to the end of our little tour of the website. I just want to see if there have been any other questions here. So William's been saying to use oldmaps.co.uk. Lovely. Thank you, William. I love old maps. I think I've already said this. Anya, it's good looking at old maps. So many streets my ancestors lived in have changed names over time. Absolutely. Julie saying thank you for the maps. That's good. Anya sharing some more pearls of wisdom there, and so is Pat. Lovely. That's fantastic. Okay, well, yeah, I think we will leave it there then. If you do have any other questions, as I said, come and add them into the forum. I do check the forum at least once a day, just to see what you guys are all chatting about. Equally, remember the support team are there to help you as well, and the blog articles are all there to help you too. So I hope you found this useful and informative. I hope you've learned something new, and if not, I just hope you've enjoyed listening to me waffle for the last 50 minutes or so. So yeah, we'll leave it there for now. Stay safe, keep your spirits up, and thank you so much for joining, and maybe we'll catch you next time. Take care. Bye bye.